And it reminds me last night after hearing mentioning Christy sing, so we're saying, okay, Mark, you need to sit it. Like, there's no way I can come after those amazing voices. One of the stories I wanted to share was, a couple days ago, we had a little creek as we did a tour of the island here. And one of the places that we got to is the oldest church in Bohol, in Lombok. And one of the things that is beautiful church is 300 years old, I think about. And it's this enormous church. It's about 25 minutes off the coastal road that you took to get here. And the church is maybe twice as big as this hall here. And one of the things that struck me is about the height of where the borders are there. There was this line, and it said, this was the water level when Hurricane Odette came here, the 2021? 22? Sorry, 21. So 4 years ago. And imagine having that much water that far from the sea, that far from the rivers, and the devastation. And it was like, wow. I mean, we know that typhoons come, hurricanes come, battles of water, which is important for crops. But the kind of change that's happening in this world is a larger and bigger need to respond to that. The other nice story that connected to that is about half an hour later, this sort of cut through the ice, and it is this mahogany forest there. This plant about 50 years ago or so, and many of the trees fell down during the typhoon. But they used those trees and the felled trees to actually help rebuild a lot of the boats. And so it was the connection between the forest that was planted 50 years ago and the ability to create resilience in the community, thinking about the future. And so at that time, it struck me as a very important thought. But now here it's the first regenerative island, and still makes sense that this is an island that's really pioneering these kinds of thoughts. And so coming back to Heifer, there's the really important message, some of the important messages I'd like to share is Heifer had several core, I don't know if it's belief systems or ideas that are transporting. So one is that we need to think about food transformation, because the way systems are operating today is not going to get us to where we need to get. So we need to think about transformation. But the other two key areas that you hear time of the game, I hear a lot coming to regional council meetings and so on, the sustainably globally led development to the transfers into the food farmer centric, to highly listen to the voices of the communities, but also the next one is context matters. And I interpret context matters as thinking about place, thinking about where we are, and embedding those programs in the place that we're at. And that's why the idea of landscapes, to me, is such a natural fit to what we want to do. Is thinking about the places where we work for communities there, taking that context and then developing programs from there. And so over the last 2 or 3 years, working with the agricultural partner, thinking about what does that mean for how do we keep the important approaches that we use, but bring in that place-based approach, it resonates so strongly. And so globally, we had a workshop 6 months ago in Guatemala for the Actors team. So it was great to have this one here. Or thinking about doing one in a couple of months in Kenya for some of our Africa colleagues. So this is truly a global approach that Heifer's thinking about around that. So to cap it off, I wanted to do, some people say, okay, I'm recreation, but I'm not sitting here. But when we think about adapting to climate change or resilience, there's two kinds of adaptation that we often talk about. One is incremental. And so we start to do piece by piece some adaptation to the world that's changing. The other one is transformational adaptation. A transformational adaptation is important. You know, we think that the world is changing so fast that small incremental changes are not enough to get us where we want to go. To get transformational adaptation, we need to think about case examples, demonstrations, things that show us how the whole system works differently, which is why we're eventually coming here to Bohol, because where Robin and I keep our agriculture team, we're exploring where should we come to situate this workshop. And then talking with the our culture partner in the international networks, the hard work that the Karub Watershed Council has taken, the important work that's happened, the collaborations with the government, the academia, also in terms of the fact that it's a model island makes so much sense. That's why I'm so thankful for Christine and her team and everyone here to help hosted us and facilitate this amazing workshop. And so thank you for that. At this point, I'll hand it over to Max, the microphone.